In today's video, we get completely defeated by the West Wales weather. So I'm in a little bit of trouble again. Here, let me show you. Can you see that clean patch? That's where there was a towel folded up that we've had to put there. It seems that all my grinding has made things dirty in here, including the floor, footprints. Looks like you've got some work to do, Rach.
Yeah, well, you can help. It's everywhere.
What I've got to do at the moment is this. This is the aft cabin that I'm studying. It's filthy. A lot of grinding being going on in here. In there's the main cabin, and Rachel only cleaned that about 2 weeks ago. And while I've been doing all the grinding, I've completely filled up that cabin with grinding splatter. Well, you know, all the dust and filth. So I'm going to cover this up. I've got a packing blanket here. And what I'm hoping to do is fasten this up here so that we've got a screen to stop the dust from going in, and also to stop the cat burglar. So what I want is some kind of a wooden strip just to go under there, and then we can trap this packing blanket underneath there, act as a curtain. I'll go and have a mooch. Right, that should keep things clean and warm in there for the time being. Right, oops, lens. Battling the winter sun in the eyes. You remember when we went under the galley floor an episode or two ago to do the plumbing, to get the water on, there was water in the bilge. That's coming from a hole that I've known about for a while, and I've known about it because we've filled it in before. It's a hole where a mushroom vent went, one of the first things we took off the boat that was really corroded. The problem is the birds have been pecking at it because there was some of that coiled ducting inside there that I think the birds thought was a worm. They'd actually pulled it out, but they tore all the plastic off the top. Here, as you can see, so you can see where I'd covered it up, but they actually pecked and pulled the ducting through here. So I'm going to do another repair on this. As we go into the forward cabin, the forward V-berth, this is one of the wardrobes. So look at this lovely cabinetry that's going to be coming out. But when we go into the back, and you see here all this water damage, well, that's coming from the vent above. Oh God. I can see lights. See, there's the hole. I think the sun's right outside the window. Caused a lot of damage because the birds have picked through my seal. I'm going to reseal it. See, the thing I like about these Van der Valts the most is they come complete with rubbish chutes.
Heard you want to leave this place where we grew up. This old town, just put it all behind. But my remember you and I would always find somewhere to hide when we were kids, so we could see and hear the water run. The river's gonna cry when you're gone. You miss the ones you know. I'll be here, hanging on, waiting for your call. Seems like time as a wave passing by, leave a mark in our minds to turn to memories. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, gone.
I've got to do something about this. That's the microwave. Can you see it? It's falling out. Bit of a mess. Oh, God, this is bloody heavy. Ugh, God, the microwave's grotty and mouldy. Still clean inside. Well done, Rachel. Ooh. Rachel's vacuuming away the boat.
What a sponge.
How long does it take the average person to renovate a boat? Average people don't renovate boats. I've got a few little bits and pieces to trim up, like this piece here, which we just need to clean off. So I'm really keen to get this aqua blasting, this hydroblasting up and running. You know, that's the kind of the jet blasting with water, but with grit at the same time. So a bit like shot blasting, but using water instead of air. I've got my pressure pot here that you remember that I bought down there. Yeah, you can see there. There's the pressure pot. But I've got to get that pressure pot back on the Talent. I've got to get that pressure pot connected to the pipe on the jet wash. Let me show you how. So this is the original pressure lance. It's quite big. Let me just move you around here a bit so I'm not stood on the bench. It's quite big. That would be no good, would it? Not forgetting in these tight spaces. So here's a pressure pistol, if you like. So that's a little bit better, a bit closer. But I need a way of connecting in the grit. And the way that it works is that you have the water flowing outwards. That creates a Venturi effect, like a carburettor, and it draws the shot through a pipe. So I got myself a pipe to do that. Where are we? Here. So, and that adds a little bit of length, but there we go. And we connect that onto there. That, in actual fact, will be the pressure washer. But I need to be able to connect the grit in. Now this is where the biggest challenge comes, because I have this pipe. I don't even know what diameter that is. I'll measure it in a bit, not particularly wide. But on the shot blaster it's significantly bigger. So I'm just going to see whether this will fasten on the inside or whether we've got to do something a little bit different. And I'm probably going to need a tap of some sort on there as well. Let's have a little look. Right, I think the way I've took this off the rubber pipe, the grit comes this way, it's forced under pressure, thinking I might be able to connect something into this. When I took it off and then realised there's some kind of a fitting in here, I've put that in. That looks like one of my PTFE jobs. And what I'm thinking about doing is removing this, taking this down to Screwfix and see if we can find something that will connect the two together with a tap. Because the idea is I want some kind of a lever So let me just see if I can find a spanner to crack that off with. You should do it. My trusty Irwin grips. So fitting some kind of a lever tap and then some kind of a spigot probably to go on the end of there. Right, off to screw fix. By the magic of editing, that probably didn't look like much time, but I've been hours, I've been out in the car. I haven't quite got what I think I need, but this should do it. This is the tap that I wanted. I'm hoping the rubber hose will go on here. So another wet day down here in the wonderful West Wales, and it's a good job we've got that shelter, which turns out to be very, very good for keeping the rain from the outside, but it also turns out it's not so good when it rains inside. So that's a bit of a wet mess. It turns out that the O-ring's fallen out of the coupling. So I've had to order one. I've got a pack of O-rings somewhere, I couldn't find them, so I've ordered one. That's going to come tomorrow. So in the meanwhile, let's get back to having a look at what we're going to do with this steel plating. So I've got a slight problem when it comes to bringing the steel in. A couple of people commented on the comments about this. It's that where do we bring it in, because we've kind of boxed it in here. The original plan was to bring it in under the boat, but it turns out that's not as easy as it sounds because of all those supports that we've put there, so it's difficult to bring it in sort of flat and slide it in under the boat. So what I'm going to have to do is cut it more or less to size, rough size, and then I'm going to see if I can bring it in down the side here. So I'm going to have to undo some of this weatherproofing that I've done and see if we can slide it in here. So the first thing I need to do is measure the size of the steel. Now we've debated all sorts of plans, including one piece of steel in the middle here and then welding here and doing the edge. We've discussed one piece of steel with a bend in it here, putting in that chine that's in the end. And I think ultimately what I've decided on is to just have one piece of steel each side, and I'm going to attempt to try and put this bend in the steel myself. If we struggle, we'll cut it and we'll weld it, but I think I might be able to put a bend in this if I'm careful. Let's see. So about 1800 mils, that should be about right. That'll be a little bit oversized, give me some extra for the angle to put the bend in, and a little bit of extra to weld against and cut off when we're finished. Right, I've got to go outside in the rain to cut steel. I've got steel out there all nicely covered up, so it's going to get wet now. I've got no choice. I've been sat for days waiting for the weather to clear up, and it's not going to happen. And if I don't go out and do something, you're not going to get a video this Friday. Here you have it. This is the steel buried under here. Somehow I've got to get it in past that door that's screwed in. I think I might be able to do it, but first of all we've got to cut this in the wet. Look at the state of that. Right, so that's really going to slow us down at the moment now, because that steel's no good. It probably is. I'm probably being over cautious, if you like, but I'm not going through all this hassle to put steel in that's had some corrosion before it's gone in. So I'm having a little think. I can order some more steel, but that's not going to come well Thursday. That's probably a good job because it's raining and there's rain coming in here, as you can probably see. If we start putting steel in here as well, I think we're going to end up with a lot of water on the steel before we can get it covered up in here. Thank you, Hemper K. Super legend. So if we're not going to get the steel till Thursday, I've got a little bit of time to think about maybe how we're doing things. I was intending just to cut up that sheet myself and to the right size and to put it in and to try and bend that angle in, and I was going to do that by putting a little cut in the steel to weaken it there, bend it, and then run a bead of weld down it. But what I could do is try and measure up, get it ordered to size by one of the local fabricators here who might be able to put a bend in it. I'm going to measure up a little bit more accurately, try and create a drawing and get that ordered from him. So what I want to do is try and get a more accurate measurement of the length of this chine here, and an accurate measurement of the angle as well, so we can continue that angle through. So let's start first of all just trying to measure it up. It's quite difficult just because there's a weld in here and butting something up to measure it, but that should do. That's about right. That should go to the edge. That's fairly flush to there. That looks to me about the right length for that chine. 113 millimeters. That is roughly the thickness of the chine. So what we need is a measurement of this angle next. So again, difficult to measure, but it's kind of around about 30. So 30 degrees seems to be the bend. It doesn't matter if there's a bit of variation again, we can cope with that. So 30-degree angle. As you've probably realised, not everything on this boat is square and straight. So what I've done is we noticed that the centre of the boat, where the two plates meet in the middle, is slightly off the U section that acts as a keel underneath. So we can't use that U section as a datum to take measurements. So what I've done is I've just put a little bit of this angle in here, all the way up there, and clamped it in along the side of the steel, the 10mm steel that runs the length of the boat. Now to measure the steel plate that needs to go in here, it needs to come up back here about 150 millimeters beyond the original stern. That's where the extension came to. We've measured from the center using this angle iron that we clamped in there to give us a nice straight center. From there to this stringer. This stringer is parallel because I've measured it with the side of the boat, so I can use that as a reference point. However, it does taper in. The boat tapers in, and so does the stringer. Parallel. So I've taken a measurement to here, but the measurement to here is different. But the problem is I need a measurement to here, where we're going to be landing the back of the plate. Now it's only a little bit further, but measuring here is going to be difficult. So I'm just going to measure here because I've got this nice bar that I can use to measure along, and then I'll calculate using just a little bit of algebra what this length is, knowing the rate at which it comes in. That's 1538. So what we've got Centre line of the boat where the keel is. Let's just put keel. That is the bow, which means that is the stern. And then we have the edge of the boat, which slightly tracks in. And I'm measuring at the moment to the edge of some steel. So that's actually the steel T-section. And we've got a measurement here, roughly where the cut is, of 1625. And we have a measurement here, 1540. That distance is roughly 1030. So what I've got to kind of work out is roughly what this length will be 4 foot away. And 4 foot is about 1220.
Sean from the future here. You'll be pleased to know that at this stage we lost the audio, which is good for you because I was about to go into some boring raptures about algebra and calculations. Nevertheless, we use this calculation, a rate of change of distance over distance, and we got the length 1,524 millimeters.
Right, so nice drawing then to send to the fabricator. Well, I feel utterly deflated at the moment. It's absolutely chucking it down. Can you hear it? At least it's not too cold, but I'm feeling a little bit damp. There's water everywhere. My steel's ruined outside. There's water dripping all over the place in here. There's water under the boat. And I'm trying to figure out what I can do in the meanwhile, except sit here, planning the steel that we're going to be needing to put in. I've sent off a few emails, and I don't know. Maybe I should go home. So I think I'm the only person left in this yard now. Everybody with common sense has gone home. Plenty of water. Plenty of water in the marina and the locks. Right, look at the state of this steel. I'm not even going to bother covering it back up again. What a schoolboy error that was. Look at the state of that. Well, I'll make a workbench out of that when we eventually get back to some dry weather. Look at the state of it. Quick thank you to Neil Brunier for supporting us on the Amazon wish list, and also once again Heath Pilkington, the Pilkies. Not only is he a VIP member, but he sent us a care package recently, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. It really does help because the support that we get does help us progress faster. Thank you to each and every one of you. Right, let's get back. Right, it turns out that where we're going to put the plating in, somebody here has put some support poles. So I've got to shift one of the poles at a time and just move it to a different position on the boat. Right, heater's back on. I'm cold, I'm damp. Let's get on. So now I've calculated everything, including the bend. I've actually put an order in with a local steel fabricator. The problem with that is, well, the advantage is we get a nice formed bend, so we're not having to score or to cut and re-weld up. We get the bend and we get the steel the right shape. The disadvantage is it's more expensive because they've done that work on it, but the other disadvantage is it takes longer to come. It's going to take about 4 days. So I need to find myself another job in the meanwhile, and I've got just the thing. The lights up here that I put in, those LED lights here, you can probably see they're a bit dim. And I'm not completely happy, so it's a little bit dark in the back here, and when Simon was down he noticed it too. So I bought myself a better light that I'm going to put up, one of those round LED lights. So let's put that up. Red to red, black to black. Plug it in and stand well back. Oh, that's better. It's like the sun's out in here. There we go. Nice and bright. You can see what I'm doing now, even though it's getting dark outside. So that's leaking. It turns out there's an O-ring missing out the bottom of that. So I've got a spare somewhere. Let's see then if that fixes the situation. Let's get this back on the gun. Right, as you can see, so that's the hydroblasting. That's using the pressure pot here, connected via the very short hose, sadly, into here. So the way that it works is if I turn on the grit, grit comes out. But what I do is we put the grit with the water. Now what that does is that gives me a very effective way of grit blasting with the equipment that I've got. So I've got the pressure washer, 15 litres per minute, the pressure pot with the grit blasting media inside it, and the combination of the two gives us fairly powerful grit blasting. The issue of course is it's very messy and very wet. So it's probably not the best for inside, although we could do inside the boat, but it's going to make a lot of wet and a lot of water. So I think for the inside of the boat, what we're going to do is we're going to hire a compressor, and we'll do that when we're ready. But for the outside of the boat and for the bits and pieces, we can use this hydroblasting. So back down here on another mission. Supposed to be a day off today, but we've got batteries on the boat which run the security cameras and everything, obviously with the charger on there. And we have a connection via the internet from the batteries that tells us the charge state and how it's charging, and every now and again we get a warning saying that the charge state's low. It's always the same thing. It's the power breaker here that's for our shore power to charge everything up. So back down here to reset the breaker. So we've not progressed this week the way that we'd have liked. We've been held up a little bit by the weather, but particularly by needing to order the new steel, but that is on its way. That's going to come next week, so we've ordered that pre-cut, oversized and pre-bent. Stopped raining finally. I actually think putting the tarpaulin on made it worse, and that's not just flash rust, it's actually bitten through now, and I think if we'd have just left it out it would have been less rusty. Anyway, it is what it is. That'll be a new workbench soon. Right, power back on now, everything's charging, and I can go back home and finish enjoying editing the video. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, and until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.